So you mentioned a little earlier, you're working on your first novel, and you
Yeah,
mentioned Texas and LSD.
sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, are you writing about personal experience? Is LSD something you've, experimented with? You're shaking your head. Yes. I've talked to some people. Substances of help certain people. Some people it's been completely detrimental. Are you coming from a positive place? Are you writing about positive experiences, negative? Talk about what's going on.
Yes,
Not
overwhelmingly.
everyone's writing about Texas and LSD, so it's
No.
two interesting things to place together.
Yeah, well, so
Maybe Joe Rogan is at this point, but yeah.
when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
I had a very positive, formative experience with LSD
Yeah.
personally. As a like teenage girl who was like, I guess I was probably 16, right at that turning point where things can go bad. Do you know what I mean? I mean, maybe it's like basically what happened was I was with some friends and I like wandered off, and you're not supposed to go look in the mirror, and I was looking in the mirror and I was just looking at myself thinking like, you're totally fine, like you're a human being in the world, like doing the best you can. And it was just this weird like self-acceptance of like, there's so much weird shit that goes on, especially for women with body issue stuff and for everyone with body issue stuff, but like, and so but it was just neat to be like, to think of your your legs as like the moving sticks and your arms as like the grabbing sticks. I don't know, just this like to get out of the idea of the body as this representation of the self and be like, this is just from a purely utilitarian standpoint, like I feel so lucky that I'm alive and able to experience the world. And anyway, this feeling like persisted for years and years. And it was something like I'm the person who is a sort of a psychedelic evangelist in a lot of ways. Like I will tell people how meaningful it was for me. And it's something that I haven't even done that much. Like I could probably, it's probably like less than 20 experiences in my whole long life at this point. And yet those experiences were these things that I would do to sort of check in with myself, that I would sort of, when things were bothering me, when I was having a big problem, when I would like, this was a way that I could kind of find myself again in this way. So, and this is not the same experience for everyone. And in fact, I've been with people who have been like, that was the worst. That was the worst idea ever. And it was horrible.
Yeah.
But so I am coming from that perspective. And then I really believe that it sort of rewired the way that I think about art and about life and the language and the connections that I make. And so I've always really valued it as a positive thing. And experimentation in general is something that I find that can be really positive. Yeah. I mean, it can also be negative, right? But that's the thing. That's the whole point.
The positivity of it.
Yeah.
It's writing about, substances, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas immediately comes to mind. I think of Bukowski with alcohol. Having, obviously this is something you're still working on. What are you, not to give too much away, but how do you go about writing? I mean, are you trying to put readers in what it's like to hallucinate? Are you a fan of, you ever read something who's trying to give you like a mushroom trip or an LSD trip and you're kind of like, that's not really what it's like?
Well, so, okay, I have a story in my collection called Glow Hunter that's about these two girls who go and eat mushrooms, which is something that you can do in Texas really easily because they just grow in cow shit and you just can pick them up off the ground when it rains. And so there's a story that I wrote about that, but I've read, there's plenty of bad drug writing, it's tricky.
Very bad.
It's like, I feel like it's the same as sex writing and dream writing because of the fact it's really easy to tip over and do it poorly. But I think there's just something about that. And the same way that I like short stories because of the intensity, there's something about writing about people who are in different headspaces, whether it's drug induced or sex induced or whatever, just these extremes of the body. That's fascinating to me. So, and obviously Jesus' Son is full of drugs, and Sam Lipsyte's Venus Drive is full of drugs. And those, it's not that, you're trying to like best encapsulate what a trip is like. For me, my novel is about a woman who can no longer use these tools that she used to use as a young person to, like I was just saying, I used to do this as a way to check in with myself. I can't do that anymore. I've got little children. Like, I don't do that. I mean, I haven't done this in years and years. I barely drink, like it's just not worth it. And so I so I'm writing about a character who's dealing with something similar, and but she also it's not to like to best capture what it feels like to have to experience a trip, but I think it's to get into a psychedelic mindset, which has almost nothing to do with drugs, you know.